Hey there. Have you heard about Flask? It's one of those awesome frameworks that let you build web applications using Python. Compared to something big and feature rich like Django, Flask is lightweight and flexible. If you're thinking, I want to create a simple blog or a small API, Flask is the perfect tool for you. The idea behind Flask is simple. It's straightforward, easy to understand, and gives you full control. It doesn't throw unnecessary features at you. You only use what you need. Now, let me walk you through how to set up and start using Flask step by step. First, let's check if Python is installed. Open your terminal or command prompt and type. If Python is not set up on your computer, you can set it up using the link provided in the video description. If Python is already installed on your computer, let's continue. It's always a good idea to keep your project isolated. For that, we'll create a virtual environment. Follow these steps in your terminal. 1. Create the virtual environment. 2. Activate the virtual environment. 3. Once activated, you should see something like VNV in your terminal prompt. Now it's time to install Flask. Run the following command. If everything goes well, Flask will be installed. To double check, type Flask installation has been successfully completed. Let's create a simple Flask app. Make a new file called app.py. Here, we are importing the Flask module from the Flask package. The Flask class will be the foundation of our app. We create an instance of the Flask class and assign it to the variable app. Score name is a special variable that tells Flask where the application is located. It helps Flask find resources and configure the app properly. This is a decorator. It tells Flask to map the URL / the homepage to the home function. This function is executed when someone visits /. It returns the text "Hello Flask," which will be displayed in the browser. This block ensures the application runs only if the script is executed directly. The Debug True option enables debug mode, which shows detailed error messages if something goes wrong and automatically restarts the server when you make changes. I'm going to run the Flask application. I'm opening the command prompt. I'm activating my virtual environment. I'm running the app.py file. When you run this code and visit this address in your browser, you'll see the message, "Hello Flask," displayed on the page. That's it. You've just created a simple web application. Flask is super easy to set up, right? A few commands, a little bit of Python, and your first web app is live. From here, the possibilities are endless. Let's dive deeper into Flask in the next steps. So we've got Flask up and running. Awesome. Now let's see how we can make our app interactive using routes and methods. This is where Flask gets really fun because it lets you handle different URLs and allows users to interact with your app. What's URL routing? Think of routes as paths on your website. For example, your home page might be at /, and another page might be at /about. Flask makes it super easy to connect these paths to Python functions. Let me show you an example. Say I create a new route for /about. This tells Flask to call a function whenever someone visits /about. In the function, we can return something like about page, and that's exactly what the user sees in their browser. Let's test it out. Here's how you can test the app. Open your terminal, activate your virtual environment, and run the Flask app. Go to this address with a browser. I send a request to /about, and boom, our about page text shows up. Okay, so routes are cool, but what about methods? HTTP methods define the type of action a user is performing on your site. The most common ones are get, used to fetch and display data; post, used to send data to the server. Let's build an example. Here's what we're going to do. 1. Create a homepage where users can type their name into a form. 2. Show a personalized message on another page after they submit the form. Here's how we'll do it step by step. 1. First, we create a route for the homepage, /. This route will show an HTML form when visited. The form will have a text field where users can type their name. When the form is submitted, the data gets sent to a /submit route. This route will handle the form submission as a post request. When users visit the homepage, they'll see a simple form that asks for their name. Let's test this out. Here's how you can test the app. Open your terminal, activate your virtual environment, and run the Flask app. Go to this address with a browser. The home function has been called. Type your name into the form and click submit. We haven't written a function for submit yet. Since the application is running in debug mode, we can see the cause of the error. Now let's create the /submit route. This is where Flask will process the data sent from the form. We can modify the decorator and function that was written for about earlier. There will be a post request. We grab the value of the name field from the form. I need to import the request library. If the user provided a name, we display a personalized message. If the field is empty, we show an error message asking them to enter their name. I will restart the application. First, I stop the server by pressing Ctrl and C keys simultaneously. Then I run the app.py file. Visit the homepage in your browser. Type your name into the form and click submit. Ta-da! You'll see a personalized message on the next page. What did we achieve? In just a few lines of code, we created a web app that handles different URLs, used get and post methods to interact with users. And this is just the beginning. You can now use these concepts to build login forms, search bars, or any feature that takes user input. Pretty cool, right? Flask makes it so easy to create something interactive. Let's keep exploring. Now that we've explored URL routing and HTTP methods, let's take it a step further by adding some style and structure to our app. This is where HTML and Jinja 2 templates come into play. Sounds exciting? Let's dive in and see how Flask makes it all incredibly easy with templates. First, I'll create a template folder. This folder will hold all the HTML files for our app. Let's start by creating an HTML file for the home page. I'll set an appropriate title for the page and place the HTML commands I used in the return statement inside the body section. When the home function is called, it will return the home.html file. I can achieve this using the render template function. So I'll import the module and pass the HTML file to the render template function. Let's test it out. I'll open the command prompt, activate the virtual environment, and run the app.py file. Now, when I send a request to /, the home.html file is called. Next, I'll create an HTML file for the submit page. I'll set a relevant title for this page too. If a name is provided, I'll display a welcoming message. But wait, where does this name variable come from? In just a moment, I'll pass the name variable to the HTML file inside the submit function. If no name is provided, I'll display a message telling the user that the name field is empty. Finally, I'll use the href attribute to set a back button for easy navigation. Now I need to tweak the submit function. If the user provides a name, the submit.html file will be called, and the name will be sent to the HTML file. We'll use that name variable in the HTML file just like we planned. If the user doesn't provide a name, the submit.html file will still be called, but the name variable will be set to none. Let's restart the app to test it again. I'll enter a name and it works just the way I wanted. And just like that, we've seamlessly combined Flask's functionality with HTML and Jinja 2 templates to create dynamic and interactive web pages. The best part? This is just the beginning of what you can achieve with Flask templates. Imagine a web app where every name submitted by a user gets saved and displayed for everyone to see. In this section, we're going to take your Flask skills to the next level by building a dynamic members page that shows all the names people enter. Let's dive in and make this interactive feature come to life. I'm creating a list for members. When the submit function is called, the name entered by the user will be appended to the list. I'll create a web page to display the members. I'll set up a route for members. The members page function will call the members.html file. I'm passing the members list to the members.html file. In the templates folder, I'm creating the members.html file. I'll set an appropriate title and header. I'll use a for loop to display the members on the screen. If the members list is not empty, the for loop will execute. The members will be displayed one by one on the screen. If the members list is empty, the text "No members yet" will be displayed on the screen. Let's test the application. I'm opening the command prompt. I activate the virtual environment and start the application. Let's send a request to the members page. There are no members yet. I'll add a member. I'll send another request to the members page. The entered name is displayed on the screen. I'll add another member. The application is working as I intended. Finally, I'll create go home and go back href links. After submitting, users will be able to view the members page. I also want users to access the members page from the home page. I'll add a go home href link to the members.html file. I'll test the application. I'm restarting the application. Keep in mind that restarting the application will erase the data since it's stored in memory, not in a database. The application is working as I want it to right now, but there's one problem. Every time the app restarts, the data stored in memory is lost. We'll solve this in the next step by using a database. Let's make the data persistent by saving it to a database using SQLAlchemy. I'll transfer the SQLAlchemy module. I'm opening the command prompt. I activate the virtual environment. You can transfer SQLAlchemy using this command, pip install flask-SQLAlchemy. I'm importing the SQLAlchemy module into the project. I'm integrating the necessary commands into the project. These commands will allow me to start using database features in the project. Now, there's no need for the members list anymore. I can also remove the append operation in the submit function. Next, I'll create a model using SQLAlchemy. I'll add two columns, ID and name. The ID column will be an integer and act as the primary key. The name column will be a string with a maximum length of 100 characters, and it cannot have null values. I want the database to be created when the web server starts. I can achieve this using an app context. In the submit function, I'll make some adjustments. If a name is entered by the user, I'll create a new member. I'll add the member to the model. Then I'll commit the changes to the database to make them permanent. In the members page function, I'll display all members on the screen. I can use the query.all function to do this. Finally, I'll make changes to the members.html file. I'll display the name value of each member in the console. Everything is ready. Let's test the application. I'm activating the virtual environment in the command prompt. I run the app.py file. I enter a name. When I click the button, the entered value is saved to the database permanently. I add another member. The application works as I expected. But what happens if the web server is shut down? Will the data be lost? Let's test it right away. I stop and restart the web server. The data is still there. That's because the data is saved to the database, not in memory. Therefore, even if the web server shuts down, the data remains permanently in the database. I hope this video helped you understand the basics of Flask, how to set up a simple web application, and make it interactive using routing, methods, and templates. If you found this content helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tutorials. Your feedback and suggestions are always welcome. Feel free to drop them in the comments section. Keep exploring, keep coding, and see you in the next video.